Ryan Day. People called him names, threatened him, said that he was born on third base. He didn't have a national championship. He hadn't beaten Michigan since his first year in 2019. And now, he had lost to them for the fourth year in a row. But behind the curtains, he and his colleagues were cooking up a run no one thought could happen. Before we can get to the 2024 season, we have to look back at Ryan Day's career. During Urban Meyer's last season in 2018, he was placed on administrative leave for the first 3 games due to reasons related to the Zach Smith abuse allegations. In those 3 games, Ryan Day would serve as acting head coach and go 3-0, beating Oregon State 77-31, Rutgers 52-3, and number 15 TCU 40-28. Afterwards, Meyer returned and coached the Buckeyes through the remaining 11 games, including the Rose Bowl. But before the Rose Bowl, Meyer announced he would retire, effective immediately after the Rose Bowl, when Ryan Day would then take over. The 2019 season was considered one of the best in recent Ohio State history, with a 12-0 regular season including 2 games with more than 70 points scored, 4 ranked wins, and a win versus both Penn State and Michigan. The Buckeyes also won the Big Ten Championship, their 3rd in a row. But the following game is one of the most controversial games in the history of college football. It was December 28, 2019, and the Buckeyes faced the Clemson Tigers in the Fiesta Bowl, a playoff semifinal game. OSU jumped out to a 16-0 lead by the middle of the second quarter before Clemson started to crawl back. It was 16-14 Ohio State at halftime. Clemson would score to go up 21-16, but a play in their next drive is what earned the game its controversy. Trevor Lawrence threw a pass to Justin Ross, who initially caught it, taking a few steps, but Ohio State's Jeff Okudah knocked it loose, giving Jordan Fuller enough time to pick it up and run into the end zone. But after taking another look at the play, the refs called it an incomplete pass, although many argued it was clearly a fumble. Both teams would score another touchdown before Nolan Turner intercepted a Justin Fields pass to seal the game. The blown call lost Ohio State the game and possibly a national championship. The 2020 season was short by COVID, which helped the Buckeyes to a 5-0 regular season and their 4th Big Ten title in a row. They got their revenge on Clemson in the Sugar Bowl, but fell to Nick Saban and his Crimson Tide in the national championship. Ryan Day, in his first 2 years, was 17-0 in the regular season, won 2 Big Ten titles, and led the Buckeyes to the national championship game. In 2021, the Buckeyes started off the season 1-1, beating Minnesota but losing to number 12 Oregon. Their next game versus Tulsa was the lowest attended Buckeyes home game since 1971, with an attendance of only 76,540. The Buckeyes only had 1 sold-out game that year, a 33-24 win versus rival and 20th-ranked Penn State. After a 10-1 start to the season, including 2 more ranked wins over number 19 Purdue and number 7 Michigan State, the Buckeyes would fall to number 5 Michigan 42-27 for the first time since 2011. It was a tragic ending to an already lackluster season for the Scarlet and Gray. They would go on to win the Rose Bowl 48-45 against number 12 Utah. The 2022 season started off much better than the last, with a season-opening win against number 5 Notre Dame and blowout wins against Arkansas State, Toledo, Wisconsin, Rutgers, Michigan State, and Iowa. Then came number 13 Penn State, but the Buckeyes had no problem with them, winning 44-31. They would win the next 3 games before meeting Michigan. It was number 2 Ohio State versus number 3 Michigan. But unfortunately, Michigan prevailed for the 2nd year in a row. Michigan won its 2nd Big Ten championship in a row, and both teams made it to the playoffs. Michigan lost to TCU 51-45, while Ohio State lost to Georgia 42-41 in the infamous Midnight Miracle, where kicker Noah Ruggles missed a game-winning field goal exactly at midnight on New Year's Day. I myself watched the game, and it was painful to see. Instead of watching the ball drop in New York, I watched the football drop to the ground in Atlanta. Buckeyes fans were slowly losing hope in Ryan Day's abilities as the 2023 season started. The Buckeyes would blow through Indiana, Youngstown State, and Western Kentucky to start off the season. The next week, they would score a miracle touchdown with only 2 seconds left to beat number 9 Notre Dame 17-14. They would then beat Maryland, Purdue, number 7 Penn State, Wisconsin, Rutgers, Michigan State, and Minnesota. Then came Michigan. And from the title of the chapter, you can see where this is going. Michigan won 30-24. Star wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. would opt out of playing in the Cotton Bowl, and quarterback Kyle McCord entered the transfer portal before the game. The Buckeyes lost to Mizzou 14-3. But now, with all that out of the way, we can get to the season this video is all about. In 2024, 4 new teams had joined the Big Ten from the collapsing Pac-12: Oregon, Washington, USC, and UCLA. Another big change was the playoff format. The committee had expanded the playoff from 4 teams to 12. Fans weren't really sure how to feel about it, thinking it made it too easy to get in, especially if you lose multiple games in a season. But Buckeyes fans were more worried about Ryan Day. Many started to question Ryan Day's ability to lead the team. He had lost to Michigan 3 times in a row, hadn't won a conference title since 2020, and hadn't made it to another national championship game. Some would go as far as to not only insult him, but to threaten him as well. But with Chip Kelly joining the team as offensive coordinator and Jim Knowles returning for his 3rd year as defensive coordinator, some were hopeful for the season. The Buckeyes started off the season with 5 blowouts in a row against Akron, Western Michigan, Marshall, Michigan State, and Iowa. It got the hopes of many up, but some knew they shouldn't stay hopeful for too long. The Buckeyes traveled to Eugene, Oregon on October 12th to take on the Oregon Ducks at Autzen Stadium. It was a night game, and Autzen is notorious for being small but loud due to its unique shape. Will Howard, who instead of going to the NFL draft decided to transfer from Kansas State to Ohio State as a senior, led the team into Eugene, hoping to come out with a 6-0 record. But they didn't know what they were in for. The Buckeyes started off with the ball and kept it for exactly 5 minutes, driving 75 yards down the field in 10 plays, ending on a 1-yard rushing touchdown by Will Howard. Oregon would punt, but Ohio State would fumble on their second drive, giving Oregon great field position on the Ohio State 28. Only 2 plays later, Jordan James would run into the end zone for an Oregon touchdown. They would fail the 2-point conversion, allowing Ohio State to keep a 1-point lead. Going into the second quarter, they would go back and forth in scoring. Ohio State's Quinshon Judkins with a 1-yard touchdown before Oregon's Evan Stewart responded, receiving a 10-yard touchdown pass from Dillon Gabriel. Oregon kicked the field goal before Egbuka scored a 15-yard touchdown for the Buckeyes. To end the half, Oregon scored a 48-yard touchdown, giving them a 22-21 lead at halftime. 3 minutes into the second half, Jeremiah Smith would catch a 6-yard touchdown pass to go up 28-22. The Buckeyes would keep this lead for just over 11 minutes, until Dillon Gabriel ran 27 yards into the end zone with 13:20 left in the fourth. Buckeye fans were starting to get nervous, not knowing if we could regain the lead before the game ended. Thankfully, the Buckeyes went on a 13-play, 53-yard, 7-minute, 20-second drive that resulted in a 40-yard field goal to go up 31-29. With only 6 minutes left, the Buckeye defense had to finish the game strong if they wanted to win the game. But Oregon started to rally. The drive started off with 2 straight completions for a first down, then 3 straight runs for another. Dillon Gabriel connected with Terrence Ferguson for a 26-yard gain. A 2-yard pass and a pass interference on the Buckeyes got Oregon to the 9-yard line, and they would gain 8 more yards to get to the 1. But instead of going for it, with 1:47 left in the game, they kicked a field goal. Oregon was up 32-31. To start off the final drive of the game, Will Howard was sacked for a 9-yard loss before throwing a 13-yard pass to Carnell Tate. 3 more passes would get OSU to the Oregon 28-yard line. Jeremiah Smith would catch a 7-yard pass, but in a controversial call, the refs ruled Smith interfered, pushing Ohio State from the 28 to the 43. After 2 more incompletions, Oregon would intentionally draw an illegal substitution penalty, which got Ohio State to the 38-yard line, but took time off the clock. Will Howard ran for 12 yards and slid, and Ryan Day tried to call the final timeout, but in another controversial call, the ref said he was too late, and the game ended. Oregon was now 6-0 and number 1. After the game, the NCAA would change its rulebook because of Oregon's intentional substitution penalty, allowing teams to add time back onto the clock for certain situations. The Buckeyes would persevere through the next 5 games of the regular season, barely beating Nebraska, downing number 3 Penn State, blowing out Purdue and Northwestern before pulling away against number 5 Indiana at home. Then came Michigan. Ryan Day needed to win, or his job could be in jeopardy, and fans knew it. It was a windy day in Columbus, and 106,000 filled the shoe to watch the 120th edition of the game. number 2 Ohio State versus unranked Michigan. It started off slow, with only a field goal scored by the Buckeyes in the first quarter. Michigan would have a turnover on downs on their next drive, but an intercepted Will Howard pass would set the Wolverines up at the Ohio State 2-yard line. Kalel Mullings would score the first 6 of the game for Michigan. After that, a 5-minute Ohio State drive would result in a missed 38-yard field goal by Jaden Fielding. It was windy, but Michigan's kicker would later show why it wasn't just the wind. After both teams punted, Michigan's Dominic Zvada made a 54-yard field goal. Ohio State fans were shocked. Was it the wind, or was it Jaden? The next drive, Ohio State would tie the game up with a 10-yard Jeremiah Smith touchdown. The score was 10-10 at halftime. The third quarter was a struggle for both teams' offenses, with both punting before both teams threw interceptions. But with 1:58 left in the quarter, Jaden Fielding was called out for yet another field goal, this time from 34 yards, 4 yards closer than his last. The kick was up.
And he hooked it. No good.
And no good. It wasn't just the wind. The Buckeyes defense would lock up Michigan once again, with Jack Sawyer getting an interception on the Buckeyes 12. They would fail to score and punt it. Michigan would then rally with a drive made entirely of runs. 8 yards, 4 yards, 6 yards, 27 yards, 3 yards, 5 yards, a 4-yard penalty on Ohio State, 2 yards, 1 yard, and then Dominic Zvada hit a 21-yard field goal. Michigan had taken the lead 13-10 with only 45 seconds left. Incomplete. 1-yard pass. Incomplete. And finally, with 23 seconds left, an incomplete pass on 4th and 9. Michigan had just upset the number 2 team in the country and completed the 4-peat. After the game, Michigan tried to plant a flag in midfield. What happened next can only be described by one word: brawl. After the game, the death threats started rolling in for Ryan Day. Some said they would kill him, while others hoped he would do it himself. Some even went as far as to threaten his family. Ryan was forced to hire armed security. His wife, Nina, said to the press that some fans wanted Day to, quote-unquote, follow in his dad's footsteps. His dad committed suicide on January 20th, 1988, when Day was only 9. The loss had eliminated Ohio State from the Big Ten championship game, where Oregon would go on to beat Penn State for the title in their first year in the conference. Ohio State, although, would still make the playoffs as the 8th seed. They would host 9th-seed Tennessee at Ohio Stadium's first ever playoff game, a game that I went to. They would go up 21-0 in the first quarter, never looking back and winning 42-17. This meant they would have a rematch versus number 1 seed Oregon in the granddaddy of them all, the Rose Bowl. Unfortunately for the Ducks, the Buckeyes would score 34 points before Oregon scored 8 to end the first half at 34-8. Although Oregon would outscore Ohio State in the second half 13-7, the Buckeyes would win 41-21. Then came the Cotton Bowl versus Texas. Texas would turn the ball over on downs to start the game, and Ohio State would score a Quinshon Judkins touchdown for the first 6 of the game. Then came 8 punts in a row, both teams punting 4 times each. Texas would finally tie up the game with 29 seconds left, but Travion Henderson did what he had done just a week earlier. On a 1-play scoring drive, he ran 75 yards down the field to retake the lead with only 13 seconds left in the first half. On only the 4th play of the second half, Will Howard tried to force the ball to Jeremiah Smith, but failed and instead threw an interception to David Benda. Both teams would punt before Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers, who formerly played for Ohio State, threw a 26-yard touchdown pass to Jaden Blue. Both teams would punt yet again before Quinshon Judkins ran in for another Ohio State touchdown on the next drive. The Buckeyes had retaken the lead 21-14. The Longhorns offense had 7 minutes left for a miracle, and they were close to finding it. 8-yard pass, 8-yard run. A 34-yard pass would be caught, but an unsportsmanlike penalty shorten it to an only 19-yard pass. 27-yard pass, 2-yard run, 5-yard pass. They were on the Ohio State 6. All they needed was 6 yards, and it would be tied with 5 minutes left in the game. A pass interference call would move it to the 2-yard line. They were so close. Another pass interference would take it to the 1. First and goal. Jarrett Gibson ran for no yards. Second and goal. 7-yard loss. Third and goal. Incomplete. Some thought pass interference should have been called on the third down play, but the refs disagreed. It was 4th and goal. With 2:13 left on the clock, Quinn Ewers received the snap, dropping back to look for open receivers. Jack Sawyer, a senior who had returned to find glory one last time, broke through the Longhorns' offensive line, and the rest is history.
Pressure comes. Sawyer knocked it out and picks it up. Jack Sawyer headed down the sidelines. Ohio State scoop and score. And
that play is now known by 2 names. One is the Scoop and Sawyer, but the infinitely more popular name was inspired by Ezekiel Elliott's 85 yards through the heart of the South in 2015. 83 yards through the heart of Texas. Quinn Ewers only had 2 minutes and 13 seconds left to score not 1, but 2 touchdowns to tie the game. But with 1:44 on the clock, he threw it to the wrong team. Caleb Downs intercepted the ball, sliding at the Texas 41-yard line and ending the game. Ryan Day and his Buckeyes were in the national championship for the first time in 4 years. And what day was the national championship on? January 20th, 2025. Exactly 37 years after Ryan Day lost his dad. It was 7:30 p.m. on January 20th, 2025 in Atlanta, Georgia. Mercedes-Benz Stadium, the same stadium the Buckeyes had lost to Georgia in only a few years prior. And now, they had a chance at their 9th national title. They were up against 7-seed Notre Dame, who had beaten Indiana, Georgia, and finally Penn State before meeting Ohio State in the championship. Notre Dame started off with an 18-play, 9-minute and 45-second drive that ended in a 1-yard rushing touchdown by quarterback Riley Leonard, who had transferred in from Duke. The Buckeyes responded with an 11-play, 6-minute and 5-second drive, leading to an 8-yard Jeremiah Smith touchdown. The rest of the half was Ohio State domination, with 2 Notre Dame punts and 2 Ohio State touchdowns, both by quinshon Judkins. They led 21-7 at halftime. Ohio State started off the second half with yet another Judkins touchdown, his 3rd of the game. After a Notre Dame turnover on downs, Jaden Fielding would hit a 46-yard field goal, tying his longest of the season. But the Irish would begin to rally. An Igbenogson pass interference call would help the Fighting Irish score a 34-yard touchdown with 3:03 left in the third quarter. The score, now 31-15 after adding on a 2-point conversion. Ohio State would drive down the field, but their drive ended only 14 seconds into the fourth quarter, as Drake Bowen punched the ball out of Emeka Egbuka's hands, giving Notre Dame the ball at their own 21. After a 30-yard pass, another Igbenogson pass interference penalty, and a few more short runs and passes, they were on 4th and goal at the Ohio State 9-yard line. They called kicker Mitch Jeter out to kick a 27-yard field goal, but
snuffed out, and the field goal unsuccessful.
He missed it. The Buckeyes had a chance to end it here, but they failed, punting the ball on 4th and 3. Notre Dame would yet again drive down the field, and this time, touchdown Notre Dame. After adding on the 2-point conversion, the score was 31-23, and Notre Dame could tie the game if they score another touchdown and a 2-point conversion. It was 3rd and 11 after a 1-yard loss on 2nd and 10. They had to get the first down, or Notre Dame could rally and tie the game. But Will Howard saw one man open down the field. That man's name is Jeremiah Smith.
Field and Smith, he's got it! Jeremiah Smith hadn't had a touch in the second half until that potential game clincher. First
56 yards. Now on the Notre Dame 10, they just had to run out the clock and kick a field goal, and it would be over. False start Ohio State, 1-yard run, 1-yard run, 2-yard loss. And finally, with 26 seconds left, Jaden Fielding kicked a 33-yard field goal. The game was over. The Ohio State Buckeyes, for the first time in 10 years, were national champions. Nobody thought it would happen, but Ohio State fans all over the country were shocked when it did. Not only were they the champions of the inaugural playoff in 2014, but now they were the champions of the new 12-team format in 2024. It was the Buckeyes' 9th national title and Ryan Day's first. After the game, Day looked to the sky, honoring his dad on the 37th anniversary of his passing. Thanks for watching, and go Bucks.